Hello students, my name is Rosalia Malundilange and I'll take you through mathematics, which is a degree level, and your code is MT10D1 and my contact number is on the screen. You can call me if you have any queries. Okay, we start with fractions. You mostly have a problem when it comes to fractions, adding fractions, subtracting fractions, multiplying them, and dividing them. Okay, now what do you do when you are adding fractions? The denominators of the fractions have to be the same. Okay, for example, we have 2 over 3 plus 3 over 7. These denominators are not the same. They have to be the same for you to add the numerators. Okay, now how do we find the denominators to be the same? Just multiply the denominator of the first fraction with everything in the second one, and then the denominator of the second one with everything. Then you see that your denominator will be the same. So 7 multiplied by 2 will give you 14. 7 multiplied by 3 will give you 21. Then you say 3 multiplied by 3 will give you 9. And then 3 multiplied by 7 will give you 21. So this will give us what? 22 over 21. That is the correct way of adding fractions. Okay? And that is a simple rule of making the denominators the same. We move on to the second one. The rule is still the same. The denominators have to be the same. So multiply everything in the first one with 5, which is from there. Multiply everything here with 11, which is from there. Now, if you multiply 5 by 6, you get 30. 11 by 5, you get 55. And then 7 by 11, you get 77. And then 5 by 11, you get 55. Now the denominators are the same. Just add the numerator and the denominator remains as it is. Then 30 minus 77 will give you negative 47 over 55. Okay, and then we move on to multiplication of fractions. If we are multiplying fractions, if you multiply fractions, the denominators don't need to be the same. You just multiply the numerator with the numerator, denominator with the denominator. Okay, that is the rule when it comes to multiplication. We have 5 multiplied by 4 is 20, 3 multiplied by 7 is 21. Okay, and then we move on to division of fractions. The rule in division is you have to reciprocate the right hand side. Yes, you have to reciprocate the right hand side fraction. Okay, the number below comes up and the number up becomes to the one at the bottom, and then this will change to multiplication. So what I'm saying is the 9 comes up, the 21 comes down, and then the division changes to multiplication, and that remains the same there. And then you just say 11 multiplied by 9, the rule of multiplication is 99. 13 multiplied by 21 will give you 273. Can we simplify that? If you simplify it, it will give you 33 over 91. To simplify means you look for a number that goes into both of them without leaving a remainder. Okay? Then, this is what you should expect in the exam. Remember, this presentation is based on your May examination. We are going to combine the fractions with the, meaning you have more than 2 or maybe 3 operations with the in the fractions, and then we want you to show all your workings. You have to follow BEDMAS. Okay, you are usually used to BODMAS. Now we have moved to BEDMAS because the O, which is for off, and then the M, which is multiplication, is the same thing. So, but we never got to say what happens if there's exponents in the equations, okay, or in the expressions. Now we have to start off by looking at, is there any brackets? No, there's no brackets. Is there any exponents? There's no exponents. Exponents are powers, isn't it? Let's say you have 3 to the power of 2. 2 there, the 2 on top there is called an exponent. And then this is a base. The 3 is a base. Okay? Now, is there division? Yes, there is division. So we are going to start with division. Remember, when it comes to division, you have to reciprocate the right-hand side. So everything else remains the same. And then you just reciprocate the... I'm putting it in bracket there just to show that this is what I'm dealing with for now. Okay? Now that we have reciprocated the right-hand fraction, then we can see that it becomes easier for us because we are going to multiply the numerator with the numerator. 7 times 3 is 21. 2 times 2 is 4. Now, the next sign is multiplication. We still do the same. 21 multiplied by 3, you get 63. 7 multiplied by 4, you get 28. If you can simplify, simplify. If not, then you leave it like that. Then you move to the second example. There we can see that we already have brackets, so you should start with the brackets. 6 multiplied by 5 will give you 30. 2 multiplied by 8 will give you 16. And then the other things remain the same. What is next? There's no more bracket, there's no more exponent, no more division, no more multiplication, but there is addition. Now you are going to add the first 2 fractions. Remember, the denominators have to be the same, which means the first fraction will be multiplied by 5. So 3 multiplied by 5 is 15, 2 multiplied by 5 is 10. The second fraction will be multiplied by 2. 4 multiplied by 2 is 8. 5 multiplied by 2 is 10. Now the new denominators are the same. You have to add the numerator. 15 plus 8 will give us 23, and the denominator is 10. Then we have to subtract 30 over 16. Now the denominator still has to be the same. So the fraction 23 over 10 has to be multiplied by 16. And then the fraction 30 over 16 have to be multiplied by 10. And then at the end of the day, your answer is 68 over 160. And if you simplify it, it will give you 17 over 40. Okay? I hope that is clear enough. We move on to grouped data. We want to know how do we calculate the mean, the median, the mode of a grouped data. Now, if you look on the screen, the numbers given there, they are not grouped. Sometimes we'll give you an ungrouped data like that, and we want you to group it. And we will always give you as what you should follow. Complete the frequency distribution table of the rent paid using the class interval of 156 to 226. Now what you should do there first is you want to know what is the width between the upper and the lower bounds. 226 minus 156, it means that there's a difference of 70, which means the next class should also have 70 difference between the two. And if you look at it, yes, it is. Now, what do? You have to continue with the same pattern until you make sure that your highest value is included in the last class. And if we look on the screen, what is our highest value there? The highest value there is 580, if I'm not mistaken, right? So what you are going to do there, we want you to start by saying class. Then you write down the interval 156 to 226. Then 227 to 297. Then the next one will be 298 to 368. The next one, looking at the pattern, will be 369 to what? Add a 70 to that number. Add a 70 to 369, and then it will give you 439. And then you continue like that. 440. It will have to go up to what? You have to add a 70, and then it continues like that. Then at the end of the day, you have to count how many of the data elements or the scores there or those numbers falls into the first category, into the second category. You have to deal with them one by one. Okay? At the end of the day, you have to make sure the total number of what is given to you is the total number that you are going to get as your frequency there. When you add everything that let's say, for example, the numbers between 156 to 226, maybe they are 7. And then the next one, maybe they are 9. The others are maybe 14. The others are maybe 21. Okay? If you count what is on the screen, the numbers on the screen, they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 5 is appearing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, 10, 20, 30, they are 31. So the total there should also be 31 because we have dealt with each and every one of them individually, okay? Now this, what is on the screen right now, is not grouped, okay? But what I'm showing you here on the other screen is now grouped, okay? Now we will want you now, let's say you are given that table, it's already done for you, and they ask you to calculate the mean, okay? What you do is you have to create a column of midpoints, okay? How do you get midpoints? The midpoint is the third column where there's an X. You have to add the upper bound and the lower bound to divide by 2, and it continues like that. After that, you have to multiply the frequencies and the midpoint, sum it up, divide by the total number of frequency, and that will give you your mean, okay? And then for the median, you have the formula as shown on the screen. You just have to understand what each of them stands for, and I've written it out for you. N is the total frequency, F is the cumulative frequency before the median class, Fm is the frequency of the class median, I is the class width, and then the lower boundary of the class median is what we call Lm. Okay, let's look at this example. Based on this example here, we want to calculate our median class. What you do first is you have to add a column of cumulative frequency. To calculate cumulative frequency, you are just adding numbers that are on top of a certain value that you are at. Let's say 8. There's no number on top of 8, so you add a 0, it remains 8. But 14, there's a 8 on top of it. 14 plus 8 will give you 22. Okay, then 12, if you come at 12, there's 14, there's 8, so you say 12 plus 14 plus 8 will give you 34. Or the other way of looking at it, you say 8 remains as it is, then 8 plus 14 will give you 22, 22 plus 12 will give you 34, 34 plus 9 will give you 43, 43 plus 7 will give you 50. Okay, now with that column, we have to take our sum of frequency, which is 50, we divide it by 2, and this will give us 25. What is that 25? That 25, we are going to use it to locate our median class. So our median class will be, we look for the first value greater than or equals to 25. That first value has to come from the cumulative column. That value is 34. 34 belongs to which class? It belongs to the class 21 to 30. 21 to 30 is our median class, but not our median value. Okay? So looking at the formula, using the formula, it says median, you need L. The L there, also N, and then you have a big F there, and then you have an I, everything divided by Fm, okay? Now, L there is the lower limit of the median class. The lower is 21. And then we add, what is our N? 50 divided by 2. What is the cumulative frequency of the class above 34? Is 22. Then our I is 9. 10 minus 1 is 9. 20 minus 11 is 9, 30 minus 21 is 9. Okay, so our class width is 9, and then we divide it by what? By the frequency of the median class. What is the frequency of the median class? The frequency of the median class is 12. So working out that will give us 50 divided by 2 is 25, minus 22 will give us 3. 3 multiplied by 9 will give us 27. 27 divided by 12 will give us what? 2.25. We add it together to 21 will give us 23.25. So that is our median value. To look at the mode of a grouped data, we use the formula mode is equals to L plus change in 1 plus change in 2, and then everything there multiplied by I. Okay? Either you say everything multiplied by I or the top one multiplied by I before you divide, it will still give you the same thing. Now the model class is the class with the highest frequency. We go back to our table. The highest frequency is 14. 14 belongs to a class of 11 to 20. The lower limit is 11. Then delta 1, frequency of the median class 14 minus the frequency above is 8. Okay? 14 minus 8, because this is 1 is the same. Delta 2, frequency of the model class 14 minus the frequency of the class below is 12. Okay, let's not forget our class width there, which is 9. All right, then we have 14 minus 8 is what? 14 minus 8 will give us 6. 6 multiplied by 9 will give us 54. Okay, so we have 54 on top. Then we have 14 minus 8, which is 6, plus 2, it's 8. Then 54 on top, divide by 8 there, we give you 6.75. We add it to 11, so our answer is 17.75. So our model value is 17.75. Okay? Now, how do we calculate the standard deviation of a grouped data? For the grouped data, for you to find the variance, first you have to find the mean. Okay? Now, the mean 16.64 there is just an example for me to show you how to get the mean. But I already showed you how to find the mean in the first example of group data, which is there. So I'm just going to use that 16.64 as our mean here, although is the data the same? Let's see if the data is the same. 4/12 2014 4/12 2014. Oh, okay. So it's the same table that we used. So the mean there is 16.64 to the power of 2. Now, the variance says you have to multiply the frequencies with the midpoints that are squared. You have to find your midpoints. 10 plus 12 is 22. Divide by 2, 11. 13 plus 15 is 28. Divide by 4 is 14. 16 plus 18 is 32. Divide by, is that 32? 34. 34 divided by 2, it will give you 17. Okay? And then you continue like that. Then in the fourth column, you have to square the midpoints. 11 squared, 14 squared, 17 squared, 20 squared. You get that in the fourth column. And then multiply the second column with the fourth column, and then you get the fifth column. And then you take what the sum of the fifth column is, divided by 50, minus the mean to the power of 2. So first you have to say 16.64 to the power of 2. You get the answer. Then you write it down. You say 14,216 divided by 50, you also get the answer minus the other answer that you got earlier. Then it will give you 7.43. Then the standard deviation is just the square root of the variance, and that is 2.73. And then they always ask, comment on the skewness of the data. For you to comment on the skewness of the data, you have to compare the mean with the median. If the mean is less than the median, then the data is skewed to the left or negative skew. If the mean is greater than the median, it's positive skew or skew to the right. If the mean is equals to the median, then it's you either say it's symmetric or normal. Now, if we look at the example that we just did now, let's look at our mean. Our mean is equals to 16.64. Let's say the median was found using the same table. Let's say it was found using the same table. The median that we got, we calculated somewhere. Okay, I can find that paper now. Median, let's say we got, for example, 18.24. Okay? Now, is the mean greater than the median or less than the median? We can see that our mean is less than the median, which means our data is skewed to the left, or negative skew. Okay? Then we move on to simultaneous equations. You have two methods of solving simultaneous equations. It's either by substitution method or elimination method. Both the methods are very, very important. You need to practice them, okay? But I want us to look at quadratic equation, as simultaneous equations is a bit easier for you all. Quadratic equations. The general form of a quadratic equation is ax to the power of 2 bx plus c equals to 0. That is the general form, all right? So whatever is in front of x to the power of 2 is named as a. Whatever is in front of x, not to the power of 2, just a x, is b. Whatever is standing on its own is a c, and is also always equated to be equals to 0. Okay? Now, a can never be 0, because if a becomes 0, then we will not have x to the power of 2, and that x to the power of 2 is what makes this equation quadratic. Then the equation will no longer be quadratic but linear. Okay? So, the methods of solving, we have factorization, we have quadratic formula, and we also have the method of completing the square. Now, how do we use factorization? Factorization depends on the type of equation that you are given, or the type of quadratic equation you are given. For example, this one, you are given 6x to the power of 2 plus x minus 5 equals to 0, right? Now, since this is greater than 1, then for us to factorize this, first of all, we need to multiply our a with c. Our a is what? 6. Our c is what? 5. So 6 multiplied by 5, we get 30. So we have to look for the factors of 30. The factors, the first factor will be 1 multiplied by 30 itself, isn't it? 1 times 30 is 30. What other number do you multiply to get 30? 6 multiplied by 5 is 30. What else? 3 multiplied by 10 will also give us 30. And you can list all of them, okay? But what we want now is to find a combination, either this one or that one or that one. If we add them or subtract them, it should give us a 1. Okay? Remember that is 1x, but we don't write 1 there, we just write it as x. Okay? Now, looking at these ones, which one can give us a 1? 6 minus 5 can give us 1, isn't it? So, we are going to replace this. We are going to replace this, and we are going to break it down into 2. So we are going to say 6x minus 5x. We did not change anything because this will give us x. It's just that instead of writing x, we'll just put it in 2. 6x minus 5x. But it's still x, okay? Why are we doing that? Because at the end of the day, we have to solve or to factorize by grouping 2, 2, and then these are only 3. They need to be 4 for us to have 2, 2. Are we together? That is the strict language of saying it. We will have 6x to the power of 2 plus 6x minus 5x minus 5 equals to 0. This whole thing is the same as that. Okay? Now, since we can now group them 2, 2, we will group this, that, like that, and then also that, there will be 2, isn't it? Okay? We are going to look what is common to 6x to the power 2 and 6x. The 6 is common, yes. We can take it out. And what else is common? The x is also common. So if we take 6x from 6x squared, what will be remaining? There will only be an x. And what will be remaining here? What will be remaining is just a 1. Now remember, when you open up this bracket, 6 x multiplied by 6 should give you 6x squared. 6x multiplied by 1 is 6. So we are fine. What is common to these two is a 5. What will be remaining there at at 5x is just a 5, and that will be remaining there is just a 1. Now why are we putting a plus in between there? Is because when you say minus 5 multiplied by x will give us minus 5x, and that is what we want. And then minus 5 multiplied by a positive 1 will give us a minus 5. Now if you see, these two are the same. What is in this bracket is also what is in that bracket. So if we take it out, what will be remaining here? There's a minus 5 there. What is the remain there is a 6x. So it's equals to 0. Like that, we also have factorized. Now we will say, for you to get 0 as a solution or as an answer, it means one of the values that was multiplied with is a 0. Okay? Now, we don't know if it's x plus 1, which is equals to 0, or maybe it's 6x minus 5, which is equals to 0. So we solve for x here, x is equals to minus 1. We solve for x there, x will be 5 over 6, isn't it? We take 5 on the other side, it becomes, where am I? Okay, we say 5 goes on that side, becomes positive, then we divide by 6 so that it cancels out, then our answer is 5 over 6. That is factorization method. Let's quickly look at the quadratic formula. Quadratic formula is, I think, it's easy to be understood by everyone, and you all do good in it. Okay, minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. That is the quadratic formula. Now you have to identify what is your a. A is 2. What is your b? B is 5. What is your c? C is minus 3. So we substitute minus, because it's part of the formula, 5 plus or minus, what is b squared? Is 5 to the power of 2 minus 4. A is 2. C is minus 3. Now remember this minus 3 here, with that minus will turn into a positive, but most of you do mistakes there. So what is in the square root is 5 squared minus 4 multiplied by 2 multiplied by negative 3. Okay, that will give us a 49. So in the square root we have a 49, and then below there we have a 4, and then we still have our minus 5 there. Okay, square root of 49 is what? Is 7. So we'll have minus 5 plus or minus 7 divided by 4. Now here we will say it's our first x is either minus 5 plus 7 over 4, or we use the other sign, minus 5 minus 7 over 4. And then what will that give you, and what will that give you? This will be 2 over 4, which is equals to 1 over 2, and then minus 5 minus 7 will give us 12, divided by 4, that will give us a minus 3. So our roots or our answers to the problem is 1 over 2 and negative 3. Okay, then we move on to the last method, which is completing the square method. Completing the square method has its own rules as well. The first thing is for you to divide by a if there's any. Now our a here is 1, so if we divide by 1, 1, 1, 1, it will still remain the same. So the next thing is for you to take the constant on the other side. Our constant is negative 8, so when it goes on the other side it becomes a positive 8. Okay, then the next thing is, the rule says you should add b over 2a to the power of 2 on both sides. Our b is 2, our a is 1, so we square it. That will give us 4 over 4, which is equals to 1. Then we should add it on both sides. So we will have x to the power of 2 plus 2x plus 1 equals to 8 plus 1, and that gives you 9. Then we have x to the power of 2 plus 2x plus 1 there, which is equals to 9. what do you do next? You have to factorize the left-hand side. Now, if you factorize this left-hand side, it's simple. What we are going to have is x plus 1 to the power of 2. And that is equals to 9. Now, if you open up this bracket, how will you open up the bracket? It means this whole bracket times 2. Not times 2, but you are multiplying it 2 times. It's like x plus 1, x plus 1. Now, if you open up those brackets, you are going to get back to that. Okay? Now, we have to get rid of this 2. So, we introduce a square root that will cancel the 2. And then we introduce the square root also on the other side. But remember, it's either positive or negative. Okay? Then on that side, we will have, we are going to have x plus 1, because the square root is gone, is the square root of 9 is 3, so it's plus or minus 3. Okay? Remember, at the end of the day, we want to get 2 roots. Alright? Now, we have to take the constant on the other side. We will have x is equals to plus or minus 3 minus 1. Because this is a positive, it goes there, it becomes a negative. So, our first x is 3, it's a positive 3 minus 1, which will give us what? Give us a 2. And the other one will be x is minus 3 minus 1, which will give us what? Will give us a negative 4. And that is our solution. Okay? You can just go through and practice more. You'll get it right. All right. We quickly look at simple interest. The formula for simple interest is known by everyone. I is equals to PRT. I is the interest, P is the principal, and then R is the rate, and then T is the time. Now, if you're asked to calculate the interest, remember that the rate is always out of 100, even if it's not shown there. But for compound interest, the formula is A equals to B, 1 plus R over N to the power N multiplied by T. Okay? A is the end amount, P is the beginning amount, R is the interest, always expressed in decimals, N is the number of compounding a year, T is the number of years. And then we have an example there. Find the compound interest on 320,000 for 1 year at the rate of 20% per annum if the interest rate is compounded quarterly. Now, if you look at these examples here, they are all based on compound interest because you always get it wrong. Now, if you look at the formula says A is equals to P 1 plus R over N to the power NT. And the question says 320,000 1 plus the rate is what? The rate is 20%, and 20% is 20 divided by 100, which is 0.2. Now this N here is the number of compounding period. Okay? How many quarters are in a year? There are 4 quarters in a year. 3 months is a quarter, 3 months is a quarter, 3 months is a quarter, and the last 3 months is a quarter. So you have to divide it by 4. If it was said compounded semi-annually, which is twice in a year, then your N will be 2. Okay? Then the investment period, the time will also be 4 multiplied. This will be 4 multiplied by 1 because they are saying for 1 year. If it was 2 years, then it will be how many quarters are in 2 years. In 1 year, there are 4. In 2 years, there will be 2 times 4, which is 8. In 3 years, it will be 4 times 3, and it continues like that. Are we together? Okay? But now since it's compounded per quarter, there are 4 quarters, the 20% has to be divided by 4, and then the time period has to be multiplied by 4 as well. If you look at number 2, find the compound interest on 1,000 at the rate of 10% per annum for 18 months when interest is compounded half yearly. How many half years are in a year? There are 2. In 18 months, how many half years are there? That is how many? Is 3. Okay? So, for that one, you are going to have 1,000, 1 plus, the rate is 10%, 0.1. You have to divide it by what? Half year. Divide it by 2. Then, how many half years, and in 18 months they are 3, and that's how you do it. I hope you practice more on that. Then we comes to proportion. Proportion is also very important, and the way you calculate direct proportion is not the same as indirect. You have to practice on that because it's very important for your exam. All the best for the exams. Contact me if you have any questions based on the presentation, which is for your subject. Thank you very much.